Hello Wall, it's the 23rd of August. Thought I would do a little update where to start. Some of the carrots have come out from there, and to be honest, they didn't work particularly well. A lot of them split. I think that's because of fluctuations in watering. But there's a few foliage is certainly a decent size. And I've just sort of interplanted cabbages, some Brussels plants, more Brussels plants. Get parsnips there, seem to be doing well. Could be wrong, but I think maybe a frost is required before they're at their absolute best. They've kind of collapsed there because they did have the netting on it, but they grew bigger than the netting and we didn't want to sort of restrict them too much, so we took the netting off, and then I suppose they've got no support now and some of the leaves have collapsed. Empty there because I just took out the red onions this morning, so 23rd of August and the red onions are out. Most of them had collapsed. Leeks in there. I can't remember exactly when I planted them, probably late June. Coming on. I think they'll probably work actually. That there is just cabbage foliage from one that I cut back. There's a younger one. There's obviously one that's much more mature. But just show you here. That's the onions, and they've collapsed quite a bit. They're pretty much done really, but I think we'll maybe leave them till next week. There's a few still growing. Some of them are large. I mean, the camera doesn't really pick that up, but that's a big onion. Some of them are very big, really very big. A lot bigger than ones you see in the shops, but I don't know how well they'll store. It was a bit of an experiment. But there's definitely a lot of them. I kind of roughly counted them and I think there's at least 250 onions. I'll just, again, more Brussels plants, some red cabbage plants in that bed. Mainly Brussels. I've got beetroots on the other side that are actually coming on, and I'm hoping they'll store reasonably well. They're Boro F1, I've never grown them before I don't think. And they're, I think they're meant to be slightly better for storing. I see some nasturtiums in there, they've kind of spread quite a bit. And what's quite interesting is there's a lot of flowers on the nasturtiums and there's not a lot of manure in that ground. There's a little, but not a lot. Whereas when you come down here, it's a bit of a mess, please excuse that. But there's nasturtiums in there, loads of foliage, loads of big green foliage, much fewer flowers, and that's where all the manure was stacked, and that's probably where there's an awful lot of nitrogen and whatever else. And so it's loads of green growth, not a lot of flowers. Tomatoes here, just weeded the place, and some of them are looking alright. That's the orange banana tomato plants. I've pinched out the tops and most of them, they're right up to the height of the polytunnel really. The tomatoes are at the back that are very short. Trying to remember the name of them for the life of me now. I can't remember. They're the San Marzano Italian type, I think. I don't know, everyone rates them, everyone says they're brilliant. We've definitely not pinched out the top, and yet the ones we grow just do not climb like Gordon's. I just don't know what's going on with them. I don't think I'll grow them again. That's the second year trying, and they just don't work that well. I think they're Douglas tomatoes in there, so you can see some of them are looking pretty good. They're F1s. And a lot of these are Gardener's Delight. So the marigolds are very good. There's some of the red onions there. And to be honest, I saw people doing this online and what have you, with the bamboo canes, but it's a faff. It's more hassle than it's worth. I think I'm better just sticking them on trays and let them dry that way, which has worked in the past, and it's fast and it's efficient. They are again F1s, but they're Sindels. Again, Gardener's Delight. See if I can get a better shot there. And these ones that I've never grown before, flowers are kind of millefleurs. I think that's a variety, but I suppose there's an awful lot of flowers, and I don't know how well it produces tomatoes. It certainly hasn't done so well so far. There is time yet. Some of the smaller red onions, and there's some of the larger red onions. Not a whole lot. I didn't really want a whole lot because I don't think they store particularly well. I'll quickly jump round the other side just to see the apple trees for the record. Before I go round the back, I just thought I'd come over the other side and have a wee look at some of the celery plants, the leeks and the tumshes, or as they call them in England, Swedes. And I think actually in America, the States, what do they call it? Ratabaga or Ratabungi, or I've got no idea. I can't remember. Anyway, some of the celery's actually doing alright. Took one yesterday. Bit of damage, bit of slug damage. But, I'm not, they're fully organic. Like, they'll put any chemicals there at all, so I can't expect them to be absolutely blemish free. They certainly look very healthy. There's the leeks, singles, doing well, definitely. Still got another week this month, then probably most of September to grow. So it's looking good. And the leeks there, they're multi-sowing. Some of them have been getting hit by mice. I know that's potentially not mice up that high, although I suppose it could be, but others have been chewed right down at the base, like there and there. And I'm almost convinced it's mice. I came over one of the days and saw a mouse shooting out. So I'm thinking something might have to be done about that. I know a lot of people tend to just accept the losses, but I don't know if that's particularly sensible. We'll see. I've got this eagle owl out which looks a bit mental, but that's there to try and deter the pigeons from eating the leaves, whether it will or not I don't know. I did read online that they're perhaps more likely to eat the leaves once there's less food available, so come the winter. But aye, some of them are coming on to be a decent size, so hopefully they'll do alright. Now I'll just run back over. Yes, I think I pressed something there. But as I say, that's Williams tree. The Williams pear hasn't pollinated particularly well. That's a Ribston pippin. Triploid, and all the books do say that it will grow vigorously, and indeed it is growing vigorously now. The silent growth must be at least 3 feet, potentially more. I'm hoping to grow it as a pyramid. This branch here though is sort of overtaking things. I'm hoping this can just become one of the main branches, lower branches alongside this one here, that are both roughly at a similar level. But whether that'll work or not, I don't know. I have tried to notch it in an attempt to slow that branch's growth in favour of the central leader. And this is Clydeside, basically because we are Clydeside. Clyde's the main river that runs through Glasgow for those that stay elsewhere and aren't familiar. But there used to be a lot of fruit growing up the Clyde Valley. I suppose it was a bit of a microclimate and they grew various kind of fruit, but it died away in the 60s and 70s and 80s as I suppose imports became cheaper, and people perhaps didn't value homegrown fruit the same. But anyway, whether or not this variety was actually grown in Clydeside or whether it's just a marketing ploy, I don't know. But what is interesting is the apples are on 2 there. That one's got a bit of damage on it, you can see in the top, but they've sort of naturally thinned themselves to 2s, as have them there, and they're a decent size. These ones have not naturally thinned themselves. I think there's 5 in that clump, and you're lucky if they're half the size, they're potentially a third of the size. So it's quite interesting to see that in action, that it is necessary to thin the fruit if you want them to develop to a decent size. Anyway, that's all for the moment. I'll try and film another video shortly. Cheers.